Good morning. Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of emo shit, so I thought I'd start with a sort of an American start there. It is a good morning, though, isn't it? Because we've got fixtures announced for FPL. It's time to get excited, guys. It is time to get excited. Got myself a Costa, so have a bit of that. Let's jump in. How is everybody? I hope you are doing well. Told you I'd get a little pod out for you on the fixtures, just a short one today. There's not much to talk about, is there? We have no prices or anything, so I've had to do a bit of guesswork as well. I'm probably miles off. Let's jump in. Okay, so courtesy of FF Scout, go follow them if you do not already. They were well quick with this. It's almost like they had fixtures before anyone else, but they probably didn't. They're just very good. They have ordered this in terms of difficulty. That's why Sunderland are at the top and not Arsenal. It's not alphabetical, as you can see. And Sunderland have the easiest start. I mean, according to what you would potentially remember as fixtures. Let's be fair, Sunderland could struggle against everybody. It's one of those things, isn't it? But initial thoughts going forward from an FPL point of view on this one, I think you've got to be looking at Chelsea, Man City, Villa, Liverpool. Although Liverpool are sort of just below middle. Difficult games against Newcastle, Arsenal in the middle, so game week 2 and 3. I don't think you can still overlook the fact that they've got Bournemouth to start, Burnley, Everton and Crystal Palace in the first 6. Liverpool are the champions. They have improved their team, I think, immensely so far. Still more to do. Apparently the new rumor is Isak. If they get Isak up top, forget about it. They've already got a great team, so that's mad. So yeah, that's just stupidity. Liverpool. Man City, again, they've probably, out of all the kind of top teams, maybe I'd say got the best start. You could say Chelsea. I mean, you could have said Spurs once upon a time, but they've just been woeful. So we'll see what Spurs turn up. But Man City, as I've said, you're having 2 or 3 from Man City. I've only got 1 in my next potential squad, and that's only because I don't know prices. I also have no idea how Man City really are going to line up. They do have a lot on the right wing now. If Grealish goes, they've kind of only got Doku on the left. Can Shirky play on the left? I'm not entirely sure. I think he's more central or right. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. Does Aït-Nouri play up there? He's very capable of playing in the cam role. We've seen it before. So, let's wait and see what they kind of want to do with them. But I think Man City, once we know prices, you got to go all in on them. I think the Haaland, Salah conundrum we usually have at the start. I think these fixtures tell me that you might have to go Haaland in reality over the 2. But Chelsea have got a very, very good start. Palace, West Ham, Fulham, Brentford, United and Brighton. Brighton aren't potentially easy, but I think the rest of those games, Chelsea should be winning, in fairness. I think Brentford would have been a question mark, but I just think with Thomas Frank leaving, with Bumo and potentially Wissa as well, they're just going to be a little bit flatter. I think a difficult season for them, actually. Brentford themselves have got the second easiest start, allegedly. Again, Villa, Chelsea in there. Forest, what Forest are we going to get this year? Personally, for me, Forest this year going to struggle massively. I think, I think last year, I personally believe it's a little bit of a fluke. Not going to lie, I just don't see much from Forest this year at all. I think it's going to be one of those. Well, they came in the top 5 last year. Now they're kind of struggling. I think it's going to be the stat season for Forest, and I am surprised that nobody's gone in for any of their players at the moment either. I certainly can see Alanga, Morgan Gibbs-White moving on. Danilo, the defender as well, potentially. I think maybe they're kind of too good. I think there could be some movement there. Tricky for the bottom 3 sides here: United, Arsenal, and Newcastle with the worst starts. when you're a good team like Arsenal, do you have a worse start? That's when you've got to kind of question these tickers. You know, it's got Liverpool in there, it's got Man City in there, like Newcastle. Yeah, they are tough fixtures, but they are Arsenal. They can do it. But I think with United and Leeds up first, you've kind of got to be considering maybe an Arsenal defender to start off with. That's where I've gone with that. And I did put in here about Newcastle. Yeah, Villa, Liverpool, very tough start. If they do lose Isak, you know, again, Newcastle, when you look at them on paper, they were. When you look at them on paper, I find it difficult to say they've got standout class stars, apart from Isak. But last year, Tonali was pretty good near the end. Gameres was insane. Joe Linton's has stepped up from what we remember Joe Linton to be. And that middle of the pack was a real core for them. Gordon had a great season too. I guess Jacob Murphy stepped up. But at the same time, that was one season where it all clicked. That's not necessarily, if you put them against other players in the Prem, are they world class? Like, was it just a good season? So let's see what happens to Newcastle. With Isak, they are very weak. They need to then invest that money very quickly into that team. Their defense for me is a bit of I think the defensively, Newcastle are a bit of a worry actually this season. So for me, yeah, you'd be looking at bringing somebody in around maybe game week 3 and 4 against Leeds and Wolves, but I wouldn't be starting with any Newcastle right now. The newly promoted teams, obviously Sunderland, I've got a Sunderland player in, but that could equally be a Leeds player. You know, it could equally be potentially a Burnley player, but Burnley have a pretty torrid start. So you'd be looking more at Sunderland or Leeds. I kind of like Leeds, don't get me wrong. Of all the teams that got promoted, I'd like kind of Leeds to stay, and I think they've got a chance. I do like their team. They were exceptional in the Championship last year. I'd like to see who stays and who goes from them. But as the promoted teams go, although Sunderland are up there with the greatest start, Leeds isn't terrible either, apart from the Arsenal and Newcastle. I think they could get some results there. Leeds against Everton, first game. You know, I've never been a big fan of Everton. I don't think they're going to be anything more this year, to be fair to you. So would I have a Leeds player? Yeah, it's definitely a consideration. Do I prefer Leeds against Everton or Sunderland against West Ham? I probably prefer Leeds over a Leeds player for Everton, if I'm totally honest with you. West Ham's an interesting one. Straight away, I can see a Bowen captaincy first game week. Absolutely. Unless you go for a Spurs attacking player against Burnley, which is absolutely possible. I can see a lot of situations where people might go and do that. But I think Bowen captaincy first game week, that's locked, isn't it? For a lot of people, I think straight away they've looked at this and gone, yeah, that. So yeah, initial thoughts. Chelsea, Man City, Villa, Liverpool, 2-3. We've not really mentioned Villa. Again, great season for them. In reality, fell away a little bit. I'd like to see them invest. I'd like to see who's going to stay out of Rashford and Asensio in reality. I hope Watkins fires a lot more this season. I mean, he didn't do terrible, did he? But I hope he fires more this season. Rogers was superb, but he has now been kind of linked with transfer speculation. People keeping an eye on him as they always do. My sources say, fuck off. But we'll see. So yeah, let's just jump in to what I kind of put together as a very, very quick squad. Obviously, I have no idea of prices. I've kind of gone off what they were this year, what they finished as, and I've gone that way. I've guessed obviously for a few. I've guessed them all, but I've guessed kind of the new players to the league in Wirtz and Frimpong, because both of them in there. And I put 1 or 2 question marks because if you saw my previous pod about strikers, I actually struggled with strikers and a little bit on keepers this year as well. So that's one thing I'm keen not to do this year. So as I don't know prices, I've kind of gone in with 2 goalkeepers at 4 million each. I don't know what I'll do. I'll wait for people to potentially put rotation things in, see what that does. And I'll have to see how many of these I've got right in terms of pricing, because I actually might have a little bit more than 4 million to spend. Who knows? But right now, keepers, I can't guess. Would I, because of the Sunderland start, would I take a 4 million Sunderland or a 4.5 Sunderland keeper and play in those first 6? Potentially. would I get any clean sheets from that? Potentially not. But it's keeping money within the team and not those key goalkeepers. I saw Andy Martin talking to somebody about goalkeepers and picking 2 for the whole season, no transfers, and just rotate them. And that's the way to kind of go, because somebody was saying about making too many keeper transfers, and not something I'd potentially do, but I did this season make a few, and it didn't help. And I think if you looked at my analysis pod, I certainly got them the wrong way round a few times, and it cost me a lot of points, actually, if I remember rightly. So I'm keen to get 2 cheapish keepers in this year that rotate quite well, and just do that and hope there's no injuries or anything like that. So in defence, I've kind of gone, I think I might take a double up on Liverpool's defence. Either side, Frimpong 5.5 and the Kirkes deal should be happening ASAP. I think he'll be 5.5, maybe 5. Let's see. But I think Frimpong will come in at a 5.5. I think he's going to play on that right quite consistently. He's a great attacking asset down there, and obviously he's got Salah playing on his side as well. I truly believe they'll link up really well. He's going to be a great asset. So I've gone for a Liverpool double up. I've gone for Saliba as well at 6.5. I think that's where the price he'll come in. I think he's 6.4 when he finished the season. Him or Gabriel, to be fair. I think, 2 solid centre-backs for Arsenal. Like I said, although they've got a tricky start, I still think they're solid. Pau Torres of Aston Villa, I think he'll come in at 4.5. I think he had an injury last season, but when he did play, I think he was pretty good. I think he'll not nail a slot this year, and I think he'll come in quite cheap. And then Destiny Udogie at 5 million for Spurs. They've got not a bad start either. He was injured too last season quite badly, but when he does play, he gets quite high. And I think him and Porro either side is actually the way Spurs should go. So for me, I think Udogie, if he comes in at 5, roughly, that's good for me. In midfield, I've gone newly promoted Patrick Roberts for Sunderland. Is he going to come in at 5? I don't think so. I think he'll be 5.5 or potentially even 6. I think he'll be one of the more expensive ones for Sunderland, but you have to guess. So again, that's one that could be hugely wrong for me. But the newly promoted teams never have people come in really expensive, if I'm honest. So fingers crossed, he could be somebody who's benchable, but obviously can turn up with some points here and there. I think given Chelsea's fantastic start, Palmer has to go in. He didn't finish the season potentially great, but you know what Palmer's capable of, absolutely. I'd put him in, coming in at 10.5, which is roughly around where he finished. 10.4, I think he finished, but he was kind of the game's 3rd highest scorer. He scored 4 in that game. He's superb, isn't he? When he's on his day, he's on his day. And if Chelsea is strengthening, they've got the Club World Cup at the moment to gel again and bond a little bit more. I think for me, yeah, he's a solid pick in there. Bowen, I said it, didn't I? Obviously, first game against Sunderland. It was Sunderland, wasn't it? I'm questioning myself now. First game against Palace. Sorry, Palace. What an idiot. First game against Sunderland. Yeah, I was right all along. Why did I go back? First game against Sunderland. Captaincy material for Bowen there. They've got a good start anyway. Why wouldn't you put Bowen in? Next up is new boy, Florian Wirtz, Liverpool, 9.5. I think he'll come in at. Question mark, could come in maybe at 9 million. So maybe I'll say 0.5 there. But there's every chance that he comes in a little bit more with all the hype around him anyway. Will FPL price him a little bit higher and give people a guessing game, or do you take the risk? Mikkel Damsgaard comes in at number 5 million and my fifth midfielder. He had a pretty good season for Brentford. They've got a good start. He pops up with a goal here and there, but mainly assists. But he plays a lot of games, and I just think with Bumo leaving, his place isn't at risk for me. We'll see how they invest, but for me, I think he's a solid little pick there. If he comes in at 5 million, he's one that can just be benched and tick over. But he's a reliable pick on that one. Up front, because of Chelsea's start, I've gone with Nicholas Jackson, who played for me at the start of last season and for another period as well, and he did very well. I was very, very happy with him. So for me, I think Jackson, if he comes in at around 8 million, I think that's not a bad price for him. I've gone Haaland over Salah, as you can see. I think given Man City's start, given who Haaland is, he comes in at 15 million again. I'm all right with that. I think you can't ignore him, not with that start. I'd like to see the other Man City prices. There's every possibility that you actually start this year with Haaland and Marmoush. I can see a lot of people potentially having that double up because Marmoush will play a lot. He'll also come on for Haaland, probably a lot. We'll see. But for me, I think starting with 2 isn't a terrible idea. And then maybe having a defender from them, Gaffr, Akanji, for instance, maybe Nori, depending on his price. Let's see how he rotates because he usually plays left. So does Gaffr. So, well, they sometimes play 3. So where does he fit in there? It's very, very difficult to know what Man City are going to do and how they fit all their players in. But I do like Rayan Cherki as well. I think he's a great player. I've spoken I believe it was one of my Club World Cup pods, and I think Echeverry is going to have a good season as well for Man City. I do think he'll come into the fold more. I think he will be the natural person from KDB. I do think he'll take over and be world-class for Man City. I think he's a great player. So hopefully we see that and see what price he comes in at and see how much he plays in maybe pre-season. They're at the Club World Cup now. So let's see what happens. I've left the striker open. When I added this all up, I had 4 million left for a striker. So we'll see what options there are. Potentially there won't be any. So let's hope some of these prices are wrong, or I'll have to just play around a little bit. Like I said, maybe someone gets downgraded. Maybe I don't love the Florian Wirtz shout straight away. Let's see how he goes. And I downgrade him somewhere else. But there's plenty of people to downgrade him too. That's the beauty. He will be around that 9 million price. So then I've got more to play. So who comes in? Is it a Watkins? Do I go Isidore from Sunderland? Maybe because that great start, maybe he's the main striker. Mayenda, I think, is the other one for Sunderland who could do quite well. So who do I pick? I'll see how much money I've got left over, but I couldn't really choose a 4 million striker. Don't know prices. Don't know who's going to be 4 million. Do they ever do very well, the 4 million strikers? No. But I'm keen this year to learn from my mistakes and put the money where I do best. That's in my midfield. So just going back here very briefly, let's take one last look at the fixtures. I'm glad they're released. This is the first 6. I'll do future pods in these when we get when I've taken a deep dive into all the fixtures and we start to look at fixture runs and stuff. But I'll probably tie it in with my kind of how I'm doing pod and my team pod that I'll start to do weekly. Things I'm completely avoiding this season are things like the Wolves players. I'm not a big fan of Bournemouth. They've got not a bad run between 2, 3, and 4, you'd say maybe, but not for me. Brighton have got Fulham and Everton up first. That's not terrible. Could I look at someone like Mitoma? Welbeck as a cheap striker potentially would be there. I don't think he'll be too much. So we'll take a look at that. Fulham are not for me. United are certainly not for me. Although they have Fulham and Burnley 2 and 3. There's a shout for a player in that gap, but I don't know who they're going to line up with and what sort of Man United are going to turn up. That's quite simply put. There we have it. I don't think we need to go through each individual team. In reality, I think we're done. I told you today, short, sweet. Let's take a look at the first 6. I'll give you a potential squad that I'm looking at and I want to play with. That's kind of the core of it. Everything changes when we get those price reveals. They won't be out anytime soon. But I will be back probably tomorrow with actually a Club World Cup pod for match day 2. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And I will speak to you soon.